Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good afternoon, basically. Today we are going to continue reading on. Let's see what we're working on. I think chapter 3, for the most part, is done with. I'm going to make sure to leave a note here that at the end of chapter 3 I should read in private. There's a little more to it that I would have liked to have covered, but the video ran too long, or the videos ran too long that I got sleepy. Because I'm human and I'm fallible. Gonna play a little squads Fortnite while we look for this section that I'm gonna read. We are in chapter 2. From my understanding, chapter 2 has to do with investment vehicles, and it has 8 sections. We're gonna go to the final section, again, back to front. So this is Chapter 2, Investment Vehicles, Section 8, Other Investments, page 114. 114. A bit of a dense read. Should be doable, shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, let's have a little bit of fun with it and not stress out too much about, the studying. Let the stress behind it come whenever it will. But for the most part, I want to have these videos ready so that when I do have to lock it in and I just don't feel like putting eyes on paper, I can just... Alright, whatever. I can just listen to the videos and, piggyback off that with ideas and whatnot. If you hear the magic school bus in the background, you are welcome. Yes, this is a new glider, thank you. I do have the battle pass because somebody else spent money on this game for me for some reason. I appreciate them. I'm really hoping I get the better loot. Oh, I see some stuff. Wait, no, this is mine, 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 this is mine. Anybody else here? What the f... Oh, what? Not enough? What do you mean not enough? Dude, don't I have like 5,000 gold every game? What the hell are we doing? Oh, dude, I should have got the AR. Okay, what if I find it here? Oh, gosh. Wait. What if I find it here? Dude, Alright, you know what? This isn't bad loot. I'm not ungrateful for what I have. It would have been nice, It would have been nice. Would have been nice. You know what, dude? You started fighting alone. That's kind of your problem. Are these idiots both downed? Where the hell is Blue? Am I alone here? Oh, you gotta be shitting me. Where are their cards at? Only one of them is dead. Alright, well. Fantastic start to the first game. Fantastic start. Dude, I don't know what you're pinging. Stop pinging shit. I'm starting to think you don't know anything about what you're doing. I'm trying to find this gold so that I can go into the Whoa! How dareth you? Who? Oh, this guy. Come on, give me some gold. Gold? How much gold do we have now? Okay, alright. Not enough for that gun that I wanted, but, the reason I'm not running is because I don't have a good reason why. Yeah, I see him. I'm tired, not deaf. Or blind, sorry. Who? Let me take care of this. I'm not even gonna. Okay. Grab that. Oh, dude, you don't even know what's coming your way. Should I just go? Look, he thinks he's creeping up on someone. This guy thinks he's creeping up on someone. He really thought. He thought he was creeping up on somebody. Isn't that cute? That's cute. It's really cute. Yeah, I'll take this one. That was nice. You might want these, homie. Hey, G-Love. You might want those. I mean, be my guest, do whatever you want. Let me grab that gold. Ew, do I see? You can pick that up if you want it. Let's go over there. Other investments. I'm just going to take a few peeksies here. Real estate investment trusts, hedge funds. Alright, so this is going to be like alternative investments to a degree. Is this dude not following me again? Oh, this jackass. Hey, white Karibo. Okay. Where are we headed, friend? Oh, dude, not this again. Wait, did he grab my gun? He did. Come on down. Are they not going to come down? Well, then what's the point? What the f... Okay. Heal him, doofus. Move, you idiots. Oh, uh-huh. Alright, this dude is the worst driver. What the hell are you? Nice. Ooh. You idiot. No, I gotta go help him. To be fair, kind of both dead now. Both of them dying doesn't mean I have to be there with them. Woo. Oh, shoot. Oh. What the fuck is Yellow doing? Why is he in the... Whatever. I get to read. Real estate investment trusts. REITs. A real estate investment trust. Let's spectate this so I can read along. A REIT is similar to a closed-end investment company, which is not a mutual fund, but a closed-end. So closed-end are public. Those are the ones that are traded. Open-ended are private. Similar to a closed-end investment company, except that instead of investing in securities, it invests in real estate, short-term construction loans, and mortgages. The investor achieves diversification and liquidity, something not typical of real estate investments. Since the trust's shares of beneficial interest are either listed on an exchange or trade over the counter, an investor can always sell the shares if he needs cash. REITs are registered securities under the Securities Act of 1933 and are regulated under Subchapter M of the Internal Revenue Code in a manner that parallels the regulation of closed-end investment companies under the Investment Company Act of 1940. A trust is organized as a legal entity under the trust indenture managed by a board of trustees. Take these headphones off while I'm not playing. Instead of issuing common shares, the trust issues shares of beneficial interest, with each certificate representing an undivided interest in the pool of real estate investments. Other than technical differences, the trust is run in a similar fashion to a corporation. The equity component of the fund's capitalization is fairly small. It is common for the trust to borrow large amounts from banks and insurance companies in order to buy investment properties and mortgages. I'm going to read that again. It is common for the trust to borrow large amounts from banks and insurance companies in order to buy investment properties and mortgages. Debt often exceeds 3 times the equity base, making REITs highly leveraged. The income stream from the properties and mortgages is expected to be adequate to repay the loans. REITs that invest mainly in properties are called equity REITs. The net income from the properties, rents less operating expenses, should exceed the REIT's borrowing cost, producing income for shareholders. Equity REITs are not that highly leveraged because the amount of debt carried is based solely upon the net income from the properties. Okay, I see what they're saying. They're cash producing assets. So yeah, I get that. What the hell are these dudes? Whatever. REITs that invest mainly in mortgages and construction loans are called mortgage REITs. The interest rate earned on the mortgages and construction loans should exceed the REIT's borrowing costs, with the resultant spread being the income for shareholders. Mortgage REITs are highly leveraged, since they make their income from spread between their borrowing rate versus income from mortgages purchased. Combination REITs combine aspects of both equity and mortgage REITs. REITs are regulated under Subchapter M of the IRS Code. If the REIT qualifies under Subchapter M, it does not pay tax on distributed net income. The distribution flow to shareholders will include the amounts on their personal tax returns. This conduit treatment of distributions is similar to that for regular investment companies. Capital gains distributions made by the REIT are separate from net investment income. If the REIT retains any capital gains, it must pay tax on that amount. There is no minimum distribution requirement for capital gains. To qualify for this special tax treatment, the REIT must derive at least 75% of its income from real estate-related activities and must distribute at least 90% of net investment income to shareholders. I'm going to read that one again. To qualify for this special tax treatment, the REIT must derive at least 75% of its income from real estate-related activities and must distribute at least 90% of net investment income to shareholders. Non-traded REITs are promoted as investments that provide a high level of quote-unquote stable income, investing in safe, established rental properties. They are mainly aimed at retirees looking for income and safety of principal. They are registered with the SEC and the IPO is sold with a prospectus. However, they are not listed on an exchange and do not trade. They typically have a fixed life of 7 to 10 years, at which point the real estate assets are sold. The trust is terminated and the proceeds are distributed to the investors. Therefore, these are illiquid investments. An investor cannot get out until the trust is terminated. Furthermore, because they are not traded, the actual value of the REIT is not known to the investor. The initial value on the customer account statement is the POP net of the organization and offering expenses. What is that? Payment on principal? Public offering price, right? The initial value on the 15, the initial value on the customer account statement is the principal offering price, net of the organization and offering expenses, which can be as high as 15%. Thus, if the public offering price is $10 per share, the net asset value will be $8.50 on the customer account statements. It stays unchanged on the account statements for at least 18 months, so the customer does not see what the real market value is for that length of time. Then, under FINRA rules, the REIT must have its assets appraised 18 months after the deal closes. And the appraised value then shows on account statements, with reappraisal required annually. Okay. Note, this is actually an older rule. FINRA has changed the rule to the first appraisal, requiring it to occur no later than 150 days after the second anniversary of the deal closing, but this is not yet tested. Okay. But just in case it is, you never know. Oh, this gun's a laser. What? Wait a minute. Wait, what gun is this? Dude, the wall hacks. I was wondering how they saw me through the wall. Some of these non-traded REITs are promoted as generating a 10% annual cash return, sneezing coming soon, very high in a low interest rate world, and thus attractive to investors seeking income. Plus, it is perceived that the real estate is a quote-unquote safe investment. If the underlying real estate properties are not maintaining a 10% return, the REIT manager often mortgages the properties to get additional cash to maintain that return. This is actually a return of capital and is not income. By requiring annual appraisal of underlying assets, the net asset value shown on customer account statements nets out any mortgage amount and shows the customer the actual remaining equity in the investment. Okay, so this is very capital intensive, which makes sense. I mean, yeah. Next subsection of other investments is hedge funds. Hedge funds are private investment funds that are open only to accredited (wealthy) investors. They are not registered under the Investment Company Act of 1940 and are very lightly regulated. The stance of the SEC with hedge funds is that because they are only open to wealthy investors, there is no need for extensive regulation. Wealthy investors can watch out for themselves. Doesn't that also open up the floodgates to kind of, how do I say this? When you don't regulate a certain subsector of the financial industry, can't that lead that subsector to entice the small guys into securities and offerings and products that are not really in their best interest, but who's going to stop them because the hedge funds are not getting regulated anyways, if that makes sense. I'm going to take a swig. Hedge funds use sophisticated, aggressive investment strategies that are high risk, but these can also be high reward, including short selling, using a large amount of leverage, and speculating in the futures, commodities, and foreign currency markets. Because of this, they are only suitable for sophisticated, wealthy investors that are able to bear risk. Hedge fund managers often invest a large chunk of their personal wealth in the fund, so the investor knows that the manager has a true personal interest in achieving good investment results. Unlike regulated mutual funds, which can only compensate the advisor based on a percentage of assets under management, hedge fund managers typically take both a percentage of assets under management, say 2%, plus a percentage of capital gains in the fund, say 20%. That's actually really massive. Yeah, that's math. I'm trying to justify why anybody would want to go into the mutual fund business versus the hedge fund business if their main objective is money. Yeah, I can see it. Gosh, that's 20% of capital gains is kind of unbelievable. Let's go ahead and all right, if that's what you want. You're lucky you clicked it first. 20% of capital gains. That's on top of percent of AUM. That's unbelievable. I mean, good for them, you know. I would throw something into question along the lines of who's really controlling that, because if you start a hedge fund and you have your own strategies, even if it's proven, I mean, it has to be proven, obviously, there's a high chance that whatever you're doing, the moment it starts struggling to any degree, you know, they're gonna come after you. They're gonna tell you what you can and can't do. You know, they're gonna tell you that you know, you're washed, it's over, you're done. The business is behind you. Your strategy is no longer viable. I'm not saying they would, but it seems like something that's way too, you know, capable of happening, especially with those kinds of returns, man. It's not small returns. How dareth somebody attack my friend? Come on, hey man. Can I feel like there should be a better system here, right? Let me know if you see anybody. Where's my teammate's card? Up there? What the hell is purple doing? What was the point of that? TNT. Alright, let's continue. Performance fees. They can do this because they are not regulated under the Investment Company Act of 1940. And if they are regulated under the Investment Advisors Act of 1940, they fall under the performance compensation rule that permits advisors to charge such fees to clients with a net worth of at least $2.2 million, or who have at least a $1.1 million investment under management with the investment advisor. Needless to say, this can result in a very rich compensation for good hedge fund managers. I assume it could, that can change your life, man. 20% of capital gains, are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. Let's find someone with a cool skin. Note, the qualified investor dollar threshold is periodically adjusted for inflation. Hedge funds are more often set up as limited partnerships that are only available to accredited investors as a private placement. To make sure they don't have to register as investment companies, they are limited to 99 investors because once an investment company has 100 investors, it must register under the Investment Company Act of 1940. These are illiquid securities that are not redeemable. Okay. I shouldn't have given up high ground. Shouldn't have gotten greedy with that one. Hey, Bubba, you want to take a nap time? Alright, you can take a little nap time. I'm going to do some studying. I'm going to finish this up and then I'll take a nap time too. Business entities, this is the next subsection. It's limited partnerships. Business entities can be set up in two different forms, either as a corporation or as a partnership. Under IRS rules, the corporation itself is a taxable entity. If the corporation has net income, the corporation pays tax on that income. If the corporation wishes to distribute cash to the shareholders, dividends are paid out of after-tax income. The shareholder who receives the dividend includes it on his tax return and pays tax again. As such, corporate dividends are said to be double taxed. That stinks. Wow. Yeah, this team is coordinated, man. Give them credit. If a corporation has a net loss, no tax is owed for that year. It cannot distribute the losses to its shareholders. There is no such thing as a negative dividend. Got it. Under IRS rules, a partnership is not a taxable entity. Net income or loss is not computed at the partnership level and taxed. Instead, each partner includes his pro rata share of income and loss on his personal tax return. These losses can be used to offset other passive income, hence the tax shelter aspect. However, these losses cannot be offset against earned income or portfolio income. So they are their own little one-off. Is that a secret little password? It's like something only Johnny knows, man. Jeez. What a dweeb. Because these programs allow investors to directly participate in the profit and loss from the business venture, they are often called direct participation programs. Tax shelters are most often set up as limited partnerships. A limited partnership consists of at least one general partner and one limited partner. The general partner is the manager of the venture and assumes unlimited liability. The limited partner is the passive investor, whose liability is limited to his investment. Okay, I see. So, tax shelters, limited partnerships, the GP is the one who sets everything up, so they have unlimited liabilities, and the LP, the limited partner, it's in the name, it's limited, right? Limited to their investment. What the hell? No way they just let this dude get away. No way, right? Wow. Would have waited there with the bat. The limited partner has the following rights. The limited partner has the right to inspect the books and records of the partnership. Yeah, so what goes on behind closed doors. The limited partner has the right to his yearly pro rata share of partnership income and loss, as well as his share of net partnership assets upon dissolution of the venture. So his portion. The limited partner can sue the general partner for damages if the general partner does not abide by the agreement. The limited partner can vote on the admission of a new general partner or on the sale of partnership assets. This is called partnership democracy. It sounds like corporations are more democratic than the actual democracy we live in. Isn't that funny? If the limited partner exceeds these activities, such as participating in the management of the partnership, he will be considered to be a general partner and takes on unlimited liability. All right, so there is an incentive to kind of be hands-off as a limited partner and not get too involved, because if you do, and you're recognized as the general partner, you're in it to win it. There's no escape there, You're in it for the good and the bad. To set up the partnership as a legal entity in the state, a certificate of limited partnership must be filed. The certificate's primary purpose is to have a public record of all parties and their percentage interest in the venture. Thus, creditors can always fine the partners if they have legal claims against the partnership. Got it. These dudes are kind of nuts. 16 kills, 23 left. I'm not going to say I think they're going to win, but they're not in a bad spot. I should have taken the shot, kid. The major types of direct partnership programs are real estate limited partnerships and oil and gas limited partnerships. The major tax benefit of real estate programs are, once the property is ready for occupancy, it can be depreciated on a straight line basis over 27 and a half years. Over a 27 and a half year life. Every year a depreciation write-off is allowed. However, in real terms, the property value is probably appreciating. That's unbelievable, man. That's a cheat code right there. Interest on the mortgage is deductible in full. Tax credits are available for qualified low-income housing and certified historic structure rehabilitations. The major tax benefits of oil and gas programs are the cost of drilling for oil, called IDCs, intangible drilling costs, is deductible in full. All oil is sold. The depletion deduction allows for an arbitrary deduction based as a percentage of the value of oil sold, rather than an actual cost of the oil. This often results in a bigger deduction than the actual amount paid for the oil in the ground. Note, these tax benefits are an incentive for oil discovery. Jeez. I didn't even know that. The problem with DPP investments is that they are illiquid. There is no trading market, and they will be very difficult to sell. Furthermore, the general partners also have a right to the assets. Furthermore, the general partner also has the right to assess limited partners if more money is needed for the venture. Okay, so there's the pros and cons to both, right? It's not all or nothing in either situation, being a GP or an LP. If the LP does not pay to the assessment, their percentage ownership is reduced. They needed more money, they couldn't get it, so they got it from somewhere else. Watering down the person's share. Why are you still in the car? An investment is an investment in a limited partnership should be made based on the economic merits of the program. An investment made solely for tax benefits can easily result in an after-tax loss to the partners. The factors to consider when evaluating a program are economic soundness. Does the business venture stand on its own without the tax benefits? Program objectives. Are the objectives reasonable and conservative? Do they match with investor objectives? For example, a customer needing current tax shelter should not buy a raw land program. Some limited partnerships are sold on a blind pool basis. What the hell is that? In a blind pool, the objectives are stated, but the specific investments are not known. For example, an existing housing program may be sold as a blind pool. The objective is known, but the actual properties to be included in the partnership are not selected. At the time the partnership is formed. So it says here, it continues, great care should be taken with this type of program. Yeah, I would hope so. Blind pool. I didn't know blind pool investments were a thing. I suppose it's like a different form of like venture capital in a weird way, right? You're investing in something based on a premise, but you don't really know what it is. You just have the blueprint, the layout, but there's no nuts and bolts, there's no meat and potatoes to it. Okay, in a weird way, got it. Sponsor track record. What has been the performance of the general partner in the past with other partnerships? Sponsor compensation. Is the management fee reasonable? Is the general partner subordinating his claims on profit or capital to the limited partners? Sponsor conflicts. Does the partnership agreement allow the general partners to compete? For example, in an oil program, a sponsor can drill for himself, as well as drilling for the partnership. Typical conflicts of interest are the general partner being permitted to take loans from the partnership, the general partner being allowed to commingle the funds of one partnership with those of another partnership that he's running. Adjacent leases in oil and gas programs. The sponsor may have a lease on land adjacent to where the partnership will drill. The sponsor uses the limited partner's funds to find oil. Then he is free to drill on his own adjacent land, where the probability of finding oil is now much greater. Effectively, the GP is using LP funds to find oil belonging solely to the GP. Okay, I see what they're getting at here. Yeah, no running rackets, guys. No running rackets. That's a smart red flag. That's something smart to bring up. Obviously, all that glitters is not gold. But with that being said, there should always be a level of homework that one does with respect to any investment or anything financial related, right? You should always kind of do some digging. The internet's here for a reason. I mean, geez, I can imagine the number of scams people have avoided just doing a quick Google search, you know. This dude didn't hit a shot, and this dude was in the open. I don't understand what this kid's doing. I really don't, but I think he's going to win because his team is kind of nuts. The next subsection will be ETFs, exchange-traded funds. Relative newcomers to the world of publicly traded funds are index fund shares known as ETFs. Exchange-traded funds. ETFs represent shares of ownership in portfolios of common stock that track the performance of a specific index. ETFs started in the I definitely will take a nap after I'm done reading this, man. I really will. ETFs started in the early 1990s with the creation of the Standard & Poor's 500 index fund. traded on the American Stock Exchange, called a SPDR, which stands for Standard & Poor's Depository Receipt, often abbreviated SPDR. This has become a very successful product. ETFs have a different structure than closed-end funds. From my understanding, I'm trying to remember. Closed-end funds are public. Open-ended funds are the ones that are private. Yeah, it was a little confusing from my understanding, but yeah, I remember. The problem with closed-end funds is that they can trade as discounts to net asset value, and this can vary, often be a steep discount if people are bearish on the fund's prospects. The ETF solves this by adding an arbitrage feature to the fund structure. If the fund is trading at a discount, designated large institutional investors are permitted to buy the fund's shares at the discount price, typically in minimum 50,000 to 100,000 share blocks, and sell short the equivalent shares of the stocks in the underlying portfolio. These institutional investors are then permitted to exchange the purchased ETF shares for the underlying stocks in the portfolio, which can be used to cover their short positions. This action pushed up the price of the ETF shares, and it will stop when the price reaches net asset value. Okay, so there's a continuous mark-to-market. Keep it as accurate as possible, and assuming the liquidity standards in the market, probably a little better tracking as well. Less tracking error, less arbitrage opportunity. Because ETFs permit the creation of additional shares via their arbitrage mechanism, they are technically open-end funds, registered under the Investment Company Act of 1940. However, because they are listed and trade like any other stock, in this way they are similar to closed-end funds. Yeah, closed are publicly traded. The open are private. Got it. The important point for the exam is that ETFs are registered as open-ended funds, not closed-end funds. Right, so they're registered as open-ended funds. Got it. Currently, almost all ETFs are index funds that are so-called passively managed. Investments because passively managed investments because the fund manager is matching the portfolio composition to a benchmark index. Right, so the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Russell, the Dow, all those little subsets, right? Mid cap, small cap, mega cap tech, the Qs, anything you want to invest in. I mean, they have a product out there for it to a degree, so it really just becomes, do you have confidence in what you're investing in? Do you like what you're investing in? Do you know the ramifications of what happens if what you're investing in doesn't turn out right? And things happen. Markets go sour. Things can always change. The economic landscape can take a turn for the worse. The Federal Reserve can just make things tight. We'll go there after, but we're here now. These dudes all win here. Are you kidding me? Oh, shoot. No, don't tell me. I'm hoping... what am I hoping for? I don't even think I have gold. I don't have anything. Dude... get a gun? My guys. Ooh, wait. Alright, not awful. I got a bubble shield. I can work with that to some degree. I mean, I don't really know what you think I'm gonna do here, but I'm just gonna tag along because I'm a good friend. Thank you. No, dude, you're on your own on this one. What? I didn't know they could come in here. I thought that was the whole premise of a damn bubble ship, man. Well, it is what it is. Let's continue. The SEC approved actively managed ETFs in 2008, where a fund manager actively decides the securities to buy and sell. Only a few have been offered, and they have not been successful in the marketplace, mainly because 2008 was the year of the market meltdown in the wake of the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy, and full recovery has not yet occurred as of 2017. As compared to an index mutual fund, ETFs offer the following advantages. ETFs are continuously priced on the exchange based on the changes in the value of stocks held in the index and trade similar to any other common stock. A customer placing an order buys at that moment's price. In contrast, mutual funds are only priced one time per day. Oh, okay, I see the point. So that instead of the one pricing per day that the mutual fund would give you, which is also an open-ended fund, the ETF version, this is also an open-ended fund, gives you a mark-to-market, a day-to-day, much like a regular stock would, right? So the market opens at 6:30 California time, 6:45. You're moving pennies, you're moving dollars, you're moving tens of dollars, whatever. You get an accurate description. Yeah, where did all my gold go? I know I had a bunch of gold when I played before, and now it's just gone. Don't know where that went, but I'm not happy about it. We're gonna have to find that. Any orders to buy a mutual fund are filled at that day's closing net asset value, plus a sales charge, if applicable. ETFs are purchased without a sales charge. However, a regular stock trading commission is charged to buy or sell ETFs. Yeah, they're basically very similar to stocks in structure. ETFs can be purchased on margin, whereas mutual funds are generally not marginable. In addition, ETFs can be sold short, whereas mutual funds cannot be sold short. The expenses associated with running ETFs are comparable to or lower than those of similar mutual funds, mainly because they do not have 12b1 fees. ETFs are tax efficient because they are not obligated to distribute capital gains to shareholders annually, as is the case with a mutual fund. Really? I didn't know that. As the shares appreciate, there is no annual tax bill on the appreciation. The tax becomes due when the shares are sold. Oh, okay. Okay. So it's like a deferred mechanism of growing. Gotcha. As the ETF market has grown, more sophisticated ETFs have been introduced. Leveraged ETFs use borrowing to magnify returns, and this will also magnify losses. They have names like the S&P 500 200% leveraged ETF. This ETF is designed to move twice as fast as the S&P 500, either up or down. So if the S&P index moves up by 5%, this ETF should move up by 10. Inverse ETFs. These use short selling to move inversely to the market. For example, an S&P 500 inverse ETF is designed to move down 5% when the S&P 500 moves up 5%. Okay. It is designed to move down 5% when the S&P 500 moves up 5%. Yeah, inversed. Just checking. Taking a swig. Even though ETFs trade like any other stock, the purchaser is required to be delivered either a prospectus similar to that for a mutual fund or a product document summarizing key information about the ETF and the details of where a prospectus can be obtained. Management companies are either open-end or close-end. An open-end management company is a mutual fund. Mutual fund shares are bought from the fund company and are redeemable at net asset value with the fund company. Okay. In contrast, closed-end fund shares have a one-time stock issuance like any other corporate stock offering. Then the books are closed to new investments, and the shares are listed and trade like any other stock. So I knew that closed-ended funds trade on an exchange like any other stock, but I didn't know that it was a one-time issuance, which makes sense, right? Because that's why the open-ended is called open, because they can very readily introduce new investments to new clients. But the closed-ended fund is done. It's closed. The books are closed. However, it is traded in public markets. Oh, this dude's about to get... Oh, this guy just got his car hit. Oh my god. What a W move. So closed-end funds are traded on public exchanges, much like regular stocks, but because they're closed, there's a limited number of shares that are out there in the market. Open-ended are the opposite. They don't trade publicly, and they can continue to reissue shares, from my understanding. Just like a company trading for less than its book value, closed-end funds can trade for less than net asset value if investors are bearish on the fund. Yeah, if it trades publicly, then closed-ended funds should be able to be speculated on to some degree, and if people are, having a presumption or some sort of indication that the fund is going to underperform, they can very easily speculate on the downside that this fund should be, at a discount to something, whatever that something will be. This dude shot his own people. I can't even. In contrast, mutual funds do not trade and can only be redeemed at net asset value. They cannot go to discount to NAV, which is, you can't speculate on open-ended funds, mutual funds, if you will. So there's no speculators out there to say, maybe this is going up, maybe this is going down. It's herd mentality after that. There's none of that. The term discount fund analysis applies to investors who believe that closed-end funds trading at a discount to NAV are undervalued and will eventually move back up to NAV. They are like value investors and seek to find funds trading at discounts to NAV. As they place buying pressure on the fund's price, it will tend to move up back towards NAV. Okay, so like value investors, discount fund analysis has to do with what's traded and publicly traded, and the public only gets the closed-ended funds to trade on. Makes sense? Makes a great deal of sense. The next subsection will be unit investment trusts. Unit investment trusts are another common type of investment company form. Unlike management companies, which issue shares that are either redeemable, mutual funds, or tradable, publicly traded funds, unit investment trusts issue shares of beneficial interest. These are called units and represent an undivided interest in the portfolio of securities. Undivided, they say, okay. The units of the trust are redeemable with the trust sponsor at any time at their net asset value. So very similar to open-ended funds in that respect. But we're fighting this person again, or this car again. So redeemable at NAV. In a fixed UIT, the sponsor selects a fixed portfolio and places it in the trust. Units of the portfolio are sold to investors. Once the portfolio is established, no buying or selling of securities takes place in the portfolio. Okay, so once it's set in stone what it is that you're going to do, that's it. That's just the way it's going to be. Fixed unit investment trusts are very popular vehicles for packaging municipal bonds. The sponsor of the trust, as for example John Nuveen and Company, assembles a portfolio of bonds targeted to a specific market. A trust may be assembled of New York State and local New York governmental obligations designed for purchase by New York residents, for whom the interest is triple tax exempt. Another trust may be assembled of California state and local California governmental obligations designed for purchase by California residents. Glad they had to throw out those two states. Those are the two states I decide to work in. So assume that John Nuveen has just sold out New York triple tax exempt trust number 120 and now wants to create another New York triple tax exempt trust number 121 for sale. John Nuveen establishes an accumulation account to hold those bonds selected until the trust is formally created. John Nuveen collects $20 million of various New York bonds in the accumulation account for placement into the trust. The sponsor decides which type of bonds the trust will include: general obligations, revenues, tax bonds, etc., as well as the maturities and credit ratings needed for selection. All of these criteria are disclosed in the prospectus. Once the portfolio is assembled, the bonds held in the accumulation account are transferred into trust. The sponsor then registers the unit investment trust with the SEC and can sell units representing an undivided interest in the trust for investors. For this example, assume that the minimum unit established by John Nuveen is $5,000. The unit is sold to the investor at the public offering price of $5,000, which includes a sales charge. Sales charges on fixed unit trusts tend to be quite low, often less than 4% of offering price. If this trust has a 4% quote-unquote load, then out of the $5,000 invested, $200 is used to pay sales charge, and $4,800 is invested in the portfolio. Okay. So it's already baked into whatever it is that you're paying, or what you think you're paying. As interest payments are made on the bonds, each unit holder gets his percentage share from the paying agent. The sponsor may provide for unit holders to get payments monthly, quarterly, semi-annually. The choice is up to the investor. As bonds mature or are called, payments representing a return of capital are made to the investors. When all of the bonds have matured, the trust self-liquidates. Okay. Again, yeah, it's fixed. So you're not adjusting to add another 10 years or whatever maturity length you're willing to work with or want. When it's done, it's done. It's just a contract. It's a contract, man. Oh, no. You're missing the shot. Okay, all right. Good shots. Yep. Take a shot. You see the light. Just take a shot. Oh my god, you didn't tag him once. This is unbelievable. Oh no. Oh my god. The expense ratios of fixed trusts are very low since there is no management and therefore no management fee and no brokerage fees since the portfolio does not change. The expenses that are incurred are legal, audit, and custodial fees. On average, a greater percentage of gross interest income is available for distribution to unit holders, since there are lower expenses than with management companies. Okay, I'm going to read that last one again. On average, a greater percentage of gross interest income is available for distribution to unit holders than with management companies, since there are lower expenses. Yeah, I got it. This dude's just dying left and right. If unit holders wish to redeem their trust units, they may do so with the sponsor at any time. The sponsor makes a market in trust units and will buy them back at net asset value. Of course, if interest rates rise, unit values will drop, and if rates fall, values will rise. The sponsor can then resell the unit to another investor based on its remaining value. The next subsection is index-linked structured products. What are you up to, pal? You taking a nap time? I don't see you sleeping. What are you doing? What are you up to? What are you up to, crazy guy? You want to get comfortable? You want to move around? You can move around. You want to move the pillows? Yeah, you can move the pillows. Do whatever you want. Get comfortable. Don't worry about it. Live your life. Stay a while, you know. Structured products are securities based on or derived from a basket of securities, an index or other securities, commodities, or currencies. There are many types of structured products, but generally they consist of a bond portion, which pays interest based on the performance of a well-known index such as the S&P 500. In addition, they have a derivative component, an embedded option that allows the holder to sell the security back to the issuer at par at maturity. These are often marketed as debt instruments, but that is not really the case. Structured products are created by many different brokerage firms, and each firm's version is somewhat different. A structured product variation of the CD is a market index-linked CD. Market index-linked certificates of deposit tie their investment return to an equity index, usually the Standard & Poor's 500 index. At first glance, it appears that this is a hybrid product that gives the advantage of a bank certificate of deposit, FDIC insurance, up to $250,000, no risk of loss of principal, along with a stock market rate of return. Alas, first glances usually don't tell the whole story. The regulators have seen increased sales of market index-linked securities of deposit and worries that investors are not being informed of the differences between traditional CDs and these hybrid products. All right, let's get into what do you call it? I want to do no build, but I want the original maps. Let's see how that works out for us. Change the feng shui a little bit. Change our skin, huh? Being a little too serious with the skin. Let's dumb it down. I like this loading screen, man. It's very good. All right, never mind. I got to do it. No. I'll save this for another time. I'll save this for one of my ranked games, so people know I'm serious. She has styles to her? Oh, that's badass. Where's that hat on? The hell is this? Oh, just a little brighter, I guess. Alright, that's dope. No, I work with that. What else do we have? No, I think she's good to go. Let's see, that's nice. The hell? How do I choose the regular games? Oh shit. This Battle Royale 0 build. Why is this not showing me? Oh, mother. I'm not building. I'm not. Here we go. Oh, that's fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted. What was I gonna do? We can do that again. Battle Royale. Is this regular? What the hell is this? Yeah, let's just run it back, I suppose. And hope we can get carried a little bit here. In particular, customers need to know that redemption of a traditional CD prior to maturity might involve a loss of interest, but there's no loss of principal. In contrast, there can be penalties imposed for redeeming a market-linked CD prior to maturity. Most have a minimum 3-year maturity. That result in a loss of principal. For example, a 3 to 5% principal penalty for early withdrawal has been fairly common. Thus, market index-linked CDs can have market risk if there is an early redemption. This penalty is imposed because to structure the product, the issuer had to buy a put option at par for the maturity date. This cost the issuer a premium, which the penalty recovers. Okay, so they just want to get their money back when all is said and done. Most market index-linked CDs only allow redemptions on preset quarterly dates. During the rest of the year, these cannot be redeemed. Thus, there is a liquidity risk because they cannot be redeemed on demand. Got it. There's a call date, if you will. These securities are backed by the faith and credit of the issuing bank. There may not be an underlying pool of securities that can be claimed if the issuer goes bankrupt. Essentially, the bank is promising to pay a return tied to an equity index, and this evaporates if the issuer goes bust. Just ask anyone who purchased Lehman Brothers structured products. Actually, I didn't know Lehman Brothers had structured products.
Probably come land here first and then.
Oh, I hear someone talking, I can't even hear it. Kind of down for this skin, man. I like it. It's very me. making sure no one's actually here. What the f- I hate this shotgun, I really do. But don't really have to use it now, do I? Actually, I like this AR. You don't grab if you don't want it. Get me the... Dude, what the... Wait. Ooh. Yep. Are we going to that, it's another black market or whatever? Where are you at? There we go. Nothing here that really grabs my attention, I'm gonna be honest. This would be nice. Oh, wait. Haha. Not bad. Just gonna make sure yellow isn't, on their own. Delete market. Smart idea. Let's get more people to annoy the shit out of us. Now there's that red car. It's gonna be right up on us. I know it, I know it, I know it. I can feel it. Look at it, right there. Fight your little bots. I'm gonna see this car right here. I don't know what you were trying to do, kid, but it ain't it. We have technology, SpongeBob. Get off my loot, kid. Whoa, dude, whoa. Whoa, dude, whoa. How dareth you? Alright, well, let's go ahead and do that. Someone died? Wish I could talk to him and say, no, what is he listening to? Is that what people who are cracked at this game listen to? Am I missing out? Whoa, dude, whoa. I can't see these guys. Get behind me? Who the... Oh, dude, this clown. Let me show you why. Okay, I need to... Oh no, I gotta get out of here. I did not just get sniped out of the air. I did not. That did not just happen. Yeah, I was sandwiched. That was a rough one. And the dude that they just wanted to come and save... What the f... Oh, what's up, dude? Dude, you're the best. Preach. Personal, kid. I just need your stuff. Oh, didn't see this guy. Just had to get the med kit. Sorry about that. Is what it is. Dude's cracked. I feel like I actually did decent on that one too. It was not a bad game. Better than the last ones we've been playing. So yeah, left off with Lehman Brothers. I didn't know they had structured products. It's actually something that you gotta do more research on. Some market index linked CDs place a cap on the amount that can be earned. For example, in a year when the S&P 500 rises by 15%, there might be a cap limiting earnings on the product to say 10%. Also note that in return for this, the product typically has a minimum floor saying, say, 1% per year. So in a year when the index drops 10%, the product will still give a minimum of 1%. Okay. The product will only credit interest at a stated percentage of the growth in the reference index. For example, if the structured product has an 80% participation rate, then in a year when the index rises by 10%, the product will only get up to 8% in interest payments, again, subject to the cap and floor. Okay, that makes sense, I get it. Am I getting rebooted here? Dude, these guys are nuts. Alright, if we lose the game, I want them to lose the game. Where are they? I'm gonna roll with them. Yeah, I'm rolling with them. Oh, thanks, dude. Preach. That thing saved me so badly. Okay.
Some fly right here.
What a move. What a move. Damn, these dudes are really killing it as teammates, for real. I owe them a lot. Good little tit for tat. Don't get too crazy with the loot. You got good stuff. You got good stuff. Take it easy. Take it easy. Get some, okay. What? I don't know who he's fighting, but I'm gonna get in there. Oh, there we go. Well, sure, I was tagging him. Nice job, team. Good stuff.
Ready up, ready up, ready up. Yeah.
All right, kid. All right. I'll go ahead and friend them. Seem like nice peoples. We were at the 80% participation, so we will. Where are we at? Tax issues. Even though the return is linked to an equity index, returns are taxed as interest at a max rate of 37%. Okay, got it. As opposed to the max tax rate on dividends and long-term capital gains of 15%. All right, so these very much have a pro and con to them. Most customers are attracted to CDs for their safety and known rate of return. The hybrid product offers less safety since there is some market risk and a potentially higher rate of return, subject to limits, of course. A variation on the structured product, first introduced in 2006, was created to eliminate the liquidity risk of the security. This is the ETN, Exchange Traded Note. An ETN gives a return linked to a market index, has a set maturity date, and is backed by the credit rating of the issuing bank. They are listed on an exchange and trade, so an investor can, quote unquote, get out at any time at the current market price. ETNs have been given catchy acronyms by their issuers such as Eagles, Astros, and Cycles. The ETN is a debt instrument, but it does not make a periodic interest payment. The value grows based on the performance of the underlying index, and the difference between the purchase price and the sale price will be seen right after this. Let's go ahead and add Panda and I don't even know who it was, but it was one of these two. Alright, let's do it. we all on the same page? We are not. Okay. All right. It's gonna put a damper in things, but let's see. Nice. Great gun off rip. Great guns off rip. Great everything off rip. This is one of those black markets. What is this? Whoa, dude, whoa. Hello? Hello? What? I'll take this one, but I'll find it. Are we fighting somebody? Oh yeah, bank. Kinda gotta stay together for this one. What the fuck? Give me that. Give me that. Where are the boys at? Let's go ahead and shoot him. Shoot him to bits. Oh. Dude got wrecked. Just checking. chase this guy. Jeez, man. I really hope that didn't cost me as much as I think it will. Alright guys, wait for me. Whoa, dude, whoa. I see, I see. Some decent stuff here, nothing too crazy, I guess. Bastard. I did think that I saw more people there. You're right there, Panda? Alright.
what happened? What happened? Back on my feet. Ah, son of a bitch! Why didn't you just fucking come? Why are you killing me? I'm your colleague, bitch. Come here.
Oh, don't find me. Dude's in a car. Ugh, so chalked. Not bad, we get to spectate and read a little more. Let's see. The main advantage of an ETN as compared to a structured product is no liquidity risk and tax efficiency. A variety of ETNs have been created by banks to give investors access to returns tied to more exotic indexes. For example, ETNs have been created that give returns tied to commodity indexes. Whoops. Based on the performance of stocks in third world countries. For example, an India index. I'll just back to I want to keep reading. An India index or a Brazil index. Do not confuse an ETN with an ETF, an exchange traded fund. An ETF is an investment company product where the shareholder owns a piece of the underlying portfolio. An ETN has no underlying portfolio. The issuer is promising to give a return tied to the index. But the investments in that index may or may not be owned by the issuer. The ETN is really only backed by the credit rating of the issuing bank. The next subsection is derivatives, parentheses options. Option contract. An option contract is entered into between two parties. The buyer of the contract is called the option holder. The seller of the contract is called the option writer. Other terminology is used as well to describe the holder and writer of a contract. The holder is said to be the buyer of the contract and is quote-unquote long the contract. The writer is said to be the seller of the contract and is quote-unquote short the contract. So remember, a contract holder is the buyer, and that is presumably a long position. The contract writer is a seller, presumably the short position. And it makes sense. You wouldn't be writing a contract for an asset you don't already own, right? So think of it that way. You own the asset. When you're writing a contract, you're writing a contract to see if you're going to sell it and at what price and whatnot. Who the hell is in my ear? Is it this kid? Does he want to play with me? What the hell is going on? Two types of contracts exist. The first type of contract allows the holder to buy a security from the writer at a fixed price at any time during the life of the option. This type of option allows the holder to call away the security from the writer and hence is termed a call option. If the writer is quote-unquote called, The contract obligates the writer to deliver the securities to the holder at a fixed price. Okay. The second type of contract allows the holder to sell a security to the writer at a fixed price at any time during the life of the option. This type of option allows the holder to put the security to the writer, and hence it is termed a put option. If the securities are put to the writer, the contract obligates the writer to buy the security at a fixed price. Okay. So in a call contract, the writer will deliver, which makes sense because the writer is the one selling. In a put contract, the writer will be the one buying the securities. Got it. All right. That actually makes sense. The fixed price specified in the contract at which the holder can either call away the security or put the security is called the strike price or exercise price. The life of the contract is specified by the expiration date of the contract. The amount of the underlying security covered by the contract is 100 shares, and that's, to my understanding, per contract. Is this dude jumping from rockets? How the hell is he doing that? I don't know what those hips are doing, but I'm in. In order to secure the contract, the holder will pay a premium to the writer. The premium is really the price of the contract. Do not confuse the premium with the strike price of the underlying security. If a customer buys one XXX January 120 call at $5, he is paying a premium of $5 per share, or $500 for the contract. $5 a share, 100 shares. The holder of a contract has three choices regarding the contract. It can be exercised, you get the shares delivered. It can be left to expire, worthless, or it can be traded. You trade out of it, either at a profit or a loss. If a call contract is exercised, the holder buys the underlying security at the strike price from a contract writer. Thus, the writer is obligated to sell the underlying security upon exercise. If a put contract is exercised, the holder sells the underlying security at a strike price to the contract writer. Thus, the writer is obligated to buy the underlying security upon exercise. Okay. Makes sense. The seller has to buy back his stock.
Can you send me face address, please?
I don't know what this dude's saying. I had my headphones off, but I hear loud noises. I get annoyed. I don't think I've ever been here. Damon's Dojo. Who's Damon? I'm Damon. I mean, if we're landing here, this dude better be nuts, right? Dude's landing up top, I'll go middle. Da, 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 da. Go get him, go get him. I think I did okay there, right? Wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad at all. Is that an AR? That is an AR. Haha. What are you picking? What are you selling, kid? What do you got in here? Where the hell did they go? What the hell are they doing? Nice. Ooh. Might as well. well worth it, well worth it, well worth it. Shotgun shellsies. We're just gonna go back to bank. Is that what we're doing here? Let me grab these. What the f... I thought those were my SMG pistol shotgun thingamabobbers. That's my fault. That's an L from me. Oh, dude. Yeah, this is chunked. Oh, good for them. They had high ground, yeah. Oh, that's smart. That's smart. I was wondering. I was wondering. Okay, let's continue. If a call... Okay, we got that. If the holder of a contract allows the contract to expire, he loses the premium paid. Conversely, the writer earns the premium received. Had a hiccup there. If a holder trades his contract, he sells it to someone else prior to expiration. He will profit if the premium received exceeds that which he originally paid for the contract. Contracts are issued in either two styles. The very first style was an American style option, one that can be exercised at any time. Later on, European style options were introduced because some options writers did not like the idea of an unintended exercise. A European style option is one that can be exercised only at expiration, not before. Note that either style can be traded at any time. Okay. They can be traded at any time, but the exercise date can only be, at the end? Only at expiration can you exercise a European option. Okay. Only at expiration. Let me... Okay, this isn't too bad. We're not too far off from finishing this section of the chapter. There are four basic options possible that can be taken: call holder, call writer, put holder, put writer. Assume that a customer buys one ABC January 50 call at $5. When the market price of ABC stock is at 51, the customer has the right to buy ABC stock at 50 during the life of the option, and he pays a premium of $5 per share for this right. If the market rises, the customer can exercise the option and buy the stock for $50. He could then sell the stock in the market for its true value. Since the stock can rise in unlimited amount, he has theoretically unlimited gain potential as the contract goes further and further in the money. On the other hand, if the market drops below 50, it could not make sense to exercise the option since the contract is now out of the money. The customer would let the contract expire and would lose the premium paid. This represents the maximum potential loss, which is the premium you paid. Assume that a customer sells one ABC January 50 call at $5 when the market price of ABC stock is at 51. The customer is obligated to deliver or sell ABC stock at 50 during the life of the option, and he receives a premium of $5 per share for this obligation. If the market rises, the customer will be exercised and must deliver the stock at 50. He would then have to buy the stock in the market for its true value to be able to deliver on the sale. Since the stock can rise in unlimited amount, he has theoretically unlimited loss potential as the contract goes further and further in the money. Because of the exposure to unlimited risk, the call writer is termed naked, exposed to substantial risk. That's what they mean by naked options. Okay, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I like this dude's cape. On the other hand, if the market drops below $50, it would not make sense to exercise the option since the contract is now out of the money. The contract would expire and the writer would keep the premium received. This represents the max potential gain. Assume that a customer buys one ABC January 50 put at $5 when the market price of ABC stock is at $49. The holder has the right to sell ABC stock at $50 during the life of the option, and he pays a premium of $5 per share for this right. If the market falls, the holder can exercise the option and sell the stock for $50. He could then buy the stock in the market for its true value to deliver on the sale. Since the stock can fall to a value of 0, he has increasing gain as the contract goes further and further in the money. On the other hand, if the market rises above 50, it would not make sense to exercise the option since the contract is now out of the money. The customer would let the contract expire and would lose the premium paid. This represents the max potential loss. Assume that a customer sells one ABC January 50 put at $5 when the market price of ABC stock is at 49. The customer has the obligation to buy ABC stock at 50 during the life of the option, and he receives a premium of $5 per share for this obligation. If the market falls, the contract will be exercised and the customer will buy the stock at $50. He could then sell the stock in the market for its true value, since the stock can fall to a value of 0. He has increasing loss as the contract goes further and further in the money. On the other hand, if the market rises above $50, the contract would not be exercised since it is now out of the money. The contract would expire and the writer will earn the premium received. This represents the max potential gain. Customers can use the 4 basic options positions against existing stock positions as follows. Protect a long stock, buy a put. To protect a long stock position from a downward market move, buy a put on the stock. In a falling market, the customer can exercise the put and sell the stock at the contract price and not suffer from the market decline. Protect short stock, buy a call. To protect a short, stock that is borrowed and sold, stock position from an upward market move, buy a call on that stock. In a rising market, the customer can exercise the call and buy in the stock at the contract price, covering the short stock position and not suffering from the market rise. Earn extra income on long stock. Sell a call. To earn extra income against a long stock position, sell a call. Only suitable in a neutral market condition. If the market stays flat for the life of the option, the call expires and the customer earns the collected premium. If the market rises, the stock is called away at the call's strike price and the customer does not gain on the stock. If the stock falls, the call expires. The customer still loses on the stock. That makes no sense. The next subsection is futures and forward contracts. A futures contract, like an options contract, is a standardized exchange-traded contract. The largest futures exchange in the U.S. is the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Futures contracts are entered between 2 parties, just like options. In a future contract, the buyer of the contract agrees to buy the underlying physical asset at a future date at a price set today, while the writer of the contract agrees to sell the underlying physical asset at a future date at a price set today. Who won, Vader? Unlike options contracts, where the holder has the right but not the obligation to exercise the contract, futures contracts must be settled at the specific future date. The holder must pay the agreed price to the seller of the contract for the underlying physical asset. To avoid this, the contracts can be closed prior to settlement by trading them on the exchange. Okay, so just trade it away. Futures contracts are available on physical commodities such as wheat, oil, currencies, and government bonds, and are also available on stock indexes. They can be used to speculate or hedge. For example, a treasury bond dealer that is long securities in inventory can hedge positions by selling a futures contract. This guarantees the dealer a fixed future price at which the treasury can be sold, regardless of future market declines. For example, a US-based international mutual fund that has a large holding of Eurozone stocks could hedge against a fall in the euro by selling euro future contracts. If the euro declines, the contract can be closed at a profit, and this would offset any currency exchange risk that the mutual fund would have due to the decline of the euro. Okay, I see what they're getting at here. You can see what they're getting at here. Hedging strategies using different derivative instruments and different assets. That does seem like a very heavy, I'm in the market kind of, move though. Don't know too many Joe Schmoes who would really be dabbling in futures contracts. Obviously, futures is one thing, but using them as a hedge is a different thing as well. It's a bit of a deep dive, if you will. Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the CME. Widowmaker. I like that. What the You guys better go. We doing bank? If we go bank, we go bank together. Together, my brothers. Oh! Whoa, 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 whoa. No way. No way, Jose. No, come on. I saved myself on this one. Don't care where you're jumping, but you ain't coming to me. Oh, shoot. Oh, come on, dude. The teammates left too. It was chalked from the beginning. Futures contracts typically. You might be able to finish the chapter within this game. Futures contracts typically have very large contract sizes and have very low margin requirements. However, as prices move, the contract is marked to market daily, and the party that is at a loss due to the movement must post additional margin. The clearinghouse that clears trades for the exchange keeps required margins until the contract is settled or closed. Thus, there is little counterparty risk. In contrast to exchange-traded futures contracts, forward contracts are custom contracts that are entered into between a buyer and a seller in the OTC market. For example, the buyer of a forward contract agrees to buy, say, 100 million euros at a price of $1.50 per euro for delivery in 2 months. The seller is the counterparty and agrees to deliver 100 million euros for $1.50 each in 2 months. If the euro increases in value, the holder has a profit on the forward contract, while the seller has a loss. Conversely, if the euro decreases in value, the seller has a profit on the forward contract while the holder has a loss. Makes sense. Thus, this is another type of derivative, because the value of the contract is derived from the movement in the currency. These are not as actively traded as futures, because each forward is a custom contract between two specific parties. Unlike futures contracts, as the price of the underlying instrument moves, these are not marked to market. Thus, settlement of the contract is wholly dependent on the ability of each party to absorb potential loss. As a result, these are not available to small investors and are only traded by large financial institutions that can absorb the risk. Swaps. My neck of the woods. A swap is a custom derivative contract where counterparties exchange the benefits, usually cash flows, of one side's financial instrument for those of the other side. So they swap trades. Or swap sides, sorry. Swaps are tailor-made for large financial institutions and corporations that wish to offset a risk, and the counterparty is often a large investment bank. there is no or very limited trading of these derivatives. Yeah, it's a very niche market, but there's a good number of big players, I'd say. The most common type of swap is an interest rate swap, where one party exchanges the cash flows from a floating rate loan for those of a fixed rate loan. The concept is that each borrower has an advantage when borrowing in the segment of the market where it is a known player, and if it were to borrow in another segment of the market, it would not do so well. So each side wants to take advantage of the other side's ability to get a better rate. For example, one party that uses the floating rate market routinely borrows at the best rate it can get, but it really would like to borrow in a fixed rate market. And one party that uses the fixed rate market routinely borrows at the best rate it can get, but really would like to borrow in the floating rate market. So they swap their respective loans' cash flows. Swap contracts typically have a life of 2 to 15 years. They can even go further than that. Each party enters into the contract because each believes that the other side has gotten a quote-unquote better deal. And of course, only one side's going to be right. Currency, commodity, and credit default swaps are in addition to interest rate swaps. There are currency swap contracts, commodity swaps, and credit default swaps, essentially a bet on whether a bond or company will default within a fixed time period. A venture capitalist is an investor who invests in startup companies with the potential to grow over time. These companies need funding to ensure their development, and venture capitalists are willing to provide much of that funding in expectation of receiving significant returns down the road. Often, several of these investors, typically wealthy individuals or organizations, will pool their money in a venture capital fund. A venture capital fund is a type of private equity fund. The investments within the fund consist of startups and small or medium-sized companies with strong long-term growth potential. Because of the nature of the companies within the fund, venture capital funds are considered very high risk and potentially high return investments. Most venture capital funds are only open to either institutional or accredited investors. A venture capital fund manager typically reviews the financial fundamentals and business plans of potential or fledgling companies and decides which companies show the best potential for return. The venture capital from the fund represents equity financing that enables newer and entrepreneurial companies the ability to address startup costs before their business begins to turn a profit. Often, the fund's manager will be given a spot on the board of directors of the company within the fund, and they will play a role in directing those companies. A venture capital fund differs from a mutual fund or hedge fund because its investments are geared towards a very specific type of company, startups and early stage companies. Although investing in these companies carries a significant amount of risk, the fund's manager can minimize those risks by spreading an investments amongst several different companies. Investing smaller amounts in a large number of startups with the hope that one or two will be very profitable helps to reduce the risks involved in a majority of the companies if a majority of the companies fold. Nonetheless, venture capital funds are only suitable for wealthy investors and institutionals willing to take on high levels of risk. Like hedge funds, venture capital investors often pay an annual fee of 1 to 2% of assets under management and 20% of profits made above a designated benchmark. Geez, yeah, I mean, that's why people go into the business, right? From my understanding, a lot of people in there don't even know what they're doing sometimes, but it's, the fees are just massive, so I can completely understand why that business structure is what it is. Employee stock option plans are similar to stock appreciation rights. These are also an option on the common stock of a company, but they are granted to employees as part of their compensation package. They are typically used as an incentive to get employees to continue working at the company and to improve a company's share price and performance. Employee stock options operate exactly like stock appreciation rights, except that the employee must pay the grant price to receive the shares. With stock appreciation rights, the employee receives the difference between the grant price and the market price without having to shell in any money. Okay, I didn't know that. Example: when he was hired, a member of the management of Hotbox Lunches Incorporated was awarded 1,000 stock options with the exercise price of $30 a share. 5 years later, the stock is now worth $100 a share. Woo, look at that. He decided to exercise his stock options. He purchased 1,000 shares at $30 and immediately sells them at the market price for a profit of $70,000. So he buys in at 30, it's worth 100, right? Do the math. 70 bucks. 70 bucks and 100. Or sorry, 70 bucks and 1,000. Not bad. Man's made $70,000. Employee stock option plans can either be qualified or non-qualified. When a qualified stock option is exercised, there are no tax consequences until the stock is sold. Tax is deferred until the employee sells the stock. In contrast, profits from the exercise of qualified stock options are taxed at the long-term capital gains tax rate, typically 15%, which is lower than the rate at which ordinary income is taxed. However, to receive the capital gains tax treatment, the employee must retain the stock at least 2 years after receiving the option and 1 year after exercising it. When a non-qualified stock option is exercised, the employee is obligated to pay tax on difference between the exercise price and the stock market's value. The tax rate will be the employee's ordinary income rate. Non-qualified stock options are sometimes transferable, while qualified stock options are not. Okay, I'm gonna take a swig. Note: stock appreciation rights are not transferable. Let's see if I can swing that bat at that car. Swung too early, brother. Social Security benefits. Social Security is a federal retirement benefit system that is funded by employee contributions and matching employer contributions. Social Security benefits are only available to individuals who work for a minimum number of years. I'm going to try to remember this. I believe it's if they work a total of 40. No. Is it 40 quarters? Yes, 40 calendar quarters, which is 10 years. Got it. The non-working spouse of those individuals can also be eligible to receive benefits. To be eligible for Social Security benefits, an individual must have worked at least 40 calendar quarters or 10 years. A calendar quarter is only counted for benefit purposes if the individual earned at least $1,400 during that quarter. The required quarterly earnings minimum is adjusted for inflation periodically. The max Social Security benefit is calculated based on averaging an individual's highest paid 35 years of work, if there are that many. So if, for instance, an individual worked for 50 years, paying into the system, only the 35 years of highest earnings are counted towards the monthly benefits that will be paid. For example, George worked for 47 years and is now retired. During his work career, his average salary was $60,000 per year. However, the average salary of the 35 years in which he was paid the most was $67,000. George's monthly Social Security benefits payment will be based on the $67,000 average salary over that 35-year period. Social Security retirement benefits can be claimed starting at age 62, though payments are considered early benefits. To receive full benefits, individuals need to wait until age 67 to begin receiving payments. If an individual chooses to take early benefits, the monthly payment amount is reduced. The individual can also wait until the age of 70 to start taking benefits, and then the monthly payment amount will increase. There is no advantage to waiting past age 70 to take benefits, since there is no further increase in the number of benefits that will be paid. A non-working spouse can claim Social Security benefits as long as their spouse is paid into the system. The max amount that non-working spouses can claim is 50% of total payment amount. If non-working spouse claims a percentage of the total payment, it will not reduce the amount received by the working spouse. So if, for example, a working spouse is supposed to receive $1,500 monthly payments, and the non-working spouse, So if, for example, a working spouse is supposed to receive $1,500 monthly, and the non-working spouse claims $750 of that payment, the working spouse will still receive $1,500. The couple will receive a total of $2,250. Okay, well, what do you know? The more you know, right? A divorced individual can collect Social Security benefits based on their ex-spouse's earning record, as long as each of the following conditions is met. The marriage lasted 10 years. The person has not remarried. Claiming ex-spouse is currently single and at least 62 years old. Both former spouses are eligible for retirement benefits. If these conditions are met, the claiming spouse will typically get 50% of spousal benefit. That's nuts. That's actually crazy. Social Security benefits are taxable. However, a portion of the benefit is excluded from tax. For an individual, if that person's combined income is between $25,000 and $34,000, 50% of the benefit is taxable at their ordinary income rate. If an individual's combined income is more than $34,000, then 85% of the benefit is taxable at their ordinary income rate. For married couples, combined income between $32,000 and $44,000 results in a taxation of 50% of the total benefits. Jeez. If the couple's combined income is more than $44,000, then 85% of the benefit is taxable. So it's not even like, what's the fucking thing people had during college? The EBT? It's like EBT, man. That's all you're getting. You're not getting real money with Social Security benefits. Note that for purposes of calculating the tax on Social Security benefits, combined income is any non-taxable interest the person receives during the year, plus 1/2 of their annual Social Security benefit. Lord. The category of digital assets includes a wide range of investments. A common characteristic between those investments is that they use distributed ledger technology, or blockchain, to store, record, and validate transactions. This is a crypto series, I see. The digital asset type that is most prominent in the investment world is cryptocurrency, which has seen an explosion of popularity in the past decade. Cryptocurrency is a digital payment system that doesn't rely on banks to verify transactions. Unlike physical money, also known as fiat currency, which is issued and backed by national governments, cryptocurrency exists only as digital entries in online databases. When you buy and sell cryptocurrency, the transactions are recorded on a ledger known as a blockchain. The currency itself is then stored in the investor's digital wallet. Each cryptocurrency transaction is submitted in encrypted form. Encryption is the process of turning data into an unreadable format, transmitting it, and then turning it back into a readable format. This scrambling and unscrambling adds a layer of security that is sometimes missing from normal banking transactions. There are thousands of types of cryptocurrencies, and each of them uses a blockchain as a means of encryption. Did they win? They did. Let's see. How do cryptocurrencies work? Units of cryptocurrency are created through a process called mining, which involves computers using algorithms to solve complex calculations on blocks of transactions. Once the calculation is solved, or mined, a new coin is created and added to the blockchain. A blockchain is a chain of blocks of data, each of which contains individual transactions. Before a group of transactions can be added to the chain, the user must submit the transactions in an encrypted form. This encryption adds to the security of cryptocurrency, making it very difficult for someone to hack into someone else's wallet. When an investor owns cryptocurrency, it doesn't mean they own a tangible asset. Instead, they own a key that allows them to encrypt and decode encryption on the blockchain. That key is kept in the investor's digital cryptographic wallet. Use of that key permits an investor to privately buy and sell shares of cryptocurrency without a broker serving as a go-between. The value of a unit of currency can fluctuate greatly depending on such factors as supply and demand, market sentiment, government regulation, and media coverage. Jeez. Okay. So you're not buying obviously we know it's not a physical thing, but you are buying kind of the key, right? A key to. No, I'm not gonna lie to you. I know the words that were just read, but I have no clue what the hell they just said. You're buying like a piece of something that I understand. You're buying a piece of how to unlock the puzzle, the complex puzzle. Maybe. The fact that it's been this long and I'm still trying to figure out what crypto is should tell me a lot of what I have to know. Who in the... It's fantastic. Oh, look at that! They marked coming here, and they didn't come here. That's funny. That's hilarious. That's why I love having great teammates. Kill me now so I can read. Thank you. Thanks, man. You deserve that, honestly. Purple. There are thousands of types of cryptocurrencies. Some of the best known include Bitcoin. Founded in 2009, Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency and is still the most commonly traded. Litecoin. This currency was the second to come onto market. It has many similarities to Bitcoin, but the major difference is that Litecoin allows investors to receive faster payments and engage in more rapid transactions than Bitcoin investors. And yet, Bitcoin's the one that's popular? Ether is the second most widely traded cryptocurrency. Ether is offered on the Ethereum blockchain. Bitcoin Cash. This is an offshoot of the Bitcoin blockchain with a few distinctions. The most important differences between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash is that Bitcoin Cash allows for larger transactions that execute much faster than Bitcoin transactions. Stablecoins. As opposed to some of the values of most other cryptocurrencies, the value of stablecoins is pegged to a stable asset such as the US dollar or a commodity. Interesting. Due to this connection to a fixed asset, stablecoins are more similar to fiat currency than other types of cryptocurrencies. Stablecoins. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. I can connect the dots with that. That's clicking for me. As mentioned above, cryptocurrency is kept in a digital wallet. Unlike a traditional wallet, the digital wallet never actually contains a tangible or even a digital token. Instead, the wallet serves as a container for the investor's blockchain key. So you're just buying a key? You're buying a one-time password? You're buying a QR code, essentially? The investor uses that key to encrypt and unlock the encryption, and then moves cryptocurrency tokens or coins to and from the wallet. So you're buying an extra layer of protection, a wallet with an extra layer of protection. That's what you're buying. You're buying a wallet with a locker on it. Once the user has acquired a digital wallet and chosen the token they would like to trade, they must choose the cryptocurrency exchange they'd like to use. A cryptocurrency exchange is a platform used to buy and sell cryptocurrencies, either by trading one kind of coin for another or paying in fiat currency like US dollars or Japanese yen for digital currency. Prices on crypto exchanges are typically determined by supply and demand. Investors who are interested in cryptocurrency have other means beside just directly buying coins or tokens. Alternatives include Bitcoin trusts that contain Bitcoin tokens and whose shares are sold in units to investors. You can buy shares of Bitcoin trusts with a regular brokerage account. Bye. These vehicles give retail investors exposure to crypto through the stock market. Blockchain stocks or ETFs. Some blockchain companies issue shares of stock that are transferable. An investor can buy these stocks, or they can buy sector ETFs that contain shares of companies that employ blockchain technology. Okay. So there's other ways of getting into it. Blockchain mutual fund. This dude's still alive. Good for him. Bitcoin mutual funds. These are mutual funds that contain either Bitcoin tokens or shares of blockchain company stock. Blockchain company stock, huh? Benefits and risks of cryptocurrency. There are several benefits and risks specific to cryptocurrency. First, let's look at the potential benefits. Privacy and security. The two parties involved in cryptocurrency transactions are not identified to each other or the public except by their wallet address, which can be reset or changed at any time. Additionally, the security measures coded into blockchain technology make it technically difficult to attack the system. Portability. While cash can be cumbersome when two parties involved are separated geographically, one of the great benefits of cryptocurrency is that it can be used anywhere that the individual has access to on the internet. Anywhere the individual has access to the internet. Okay. Transparency. Since the blockchain is publicly accessible, all transactions of it on the chain can be viewed. This makes it impossible to hide a transaction. If the wallet address is known, corresponding transactions can be tracked, which can help to limit the threat of suspicious activity. Equality of opportunity. Anyone with internet access can make cryptocurrency transactions. Alright, now we're on the final page. Now let's look at the risks associated with cryptocurrencies. Price volatility. There are two main factors that contribute to volatility risk in established cryptocurrencies. First, there's no central bank. There's no central bank to control supply. Instead, it is controlled by data mining. Contrast this with traditional currencies, where a central bank controls the supply of money and can adjust the supply. Additionally, because cryptocurrency is still relatively new and not understood by many investors, it is more susceptible to rapid swings in price. Opacity of markets. Major financial markets consist of buyers and sellers operating via exchanges. Traditional financial markets in the US are among the most highly regulated and transparent in the world, and it is this transparency and safety that made them also the most successful. Cryptocurrency markets, on the other hand, are subject to few, if any, regulations. This lack of regulation can result in greater gains, but it can also result in greater risks. Potentially untraceable issuers. Because cryptocurrency or related investments exist only in digital form online, their issuers can be located anywhere and can even be anonymous. This means it can be virtually impossible to trace and recover any lost funds via legal means. Wow. Prevalence of scammers. Given the lack of oversight, cryptocurrency presents fertile ground for fraudsters to take advantage of investors. There have been several well-documented examples of scams involving cryptocurrency in which both retail and institutional investors were negatively impacted. Dude got whacked. Suitability. As a result of the various risks associated with cryptocurrency. Alright, well that's how that went. As a result of the various risks associated with cryptocurrency, the North American Securities Administration Association advises it should only be recommended to experienced investors who are willing to take on high levels of risk. In fact, it warns investors to only purchase cryptocurrency if they can tolerate losing their entire invested capital. When considering purchasing cryptocurrency, investors are warned to be aware of fraudulent schemes associated with these products. NASA cautions investors to be aware of such scams as fake digital wallets, pump and dump schemes, and promises of increased gains to initial investors if they can solicit others to invest. Okay, so they're kind of telling you there what they think. So that's the end of that chapter. I'll go ahead and play one more game, but that's chapter 2, section 8, I believe. Chapter 2, section 8. Let me go and check this out. Other investments? Yes, chapter 2, section 8. Super helpful. Very interesting. And it's always good to know what's out there, right? I don't know too many people who ever really touch a hedge fund or have the ability to, aside from being in the business, right? Maybe they have buddies who are company execs or whatever. But for the most part, it's just good to know that there are things out there for customers to understand that it's way more complex a system than they just want to make it out to be, right? Everybody just shouldn't think it's the S&P 500 and there's really nothing else out there. Like, no, there's a lot of things out there. You got real estate trusts, general partnerships, limited partnerships, right? The passive income. There's just a plethora of opportunity out there. So that's good to know. It's a very important chapter, I think. Mind if I do? You heard it from the book, folks. Cryptocurrency is potentially a very dangerous product. Shooting? Are these actual players? Where are we at? Ooh, unfortunately I don't like that shotgun. Now we're playing. Bots, I guess. take a quick potty break now that I think about it. Might as well, I'm here, right? Welcome back, thanks. Oh, nothing happened? No way. Who would have thought? Who would have thought it? We got players now? What are we doing? What the hell's going on here? Ooh. Yes. Do we break into this thing? What the hell happened? Wait, is there a purple pump and dump here for me? Field precision, I don't want that. I'll take this. Yeah, it's not. Oh, ooh, nice, nice. That's a good haul. Where are we headed? One. Didn't mean to lazy you like that, dude. You just had to know. You know. Nobody told you that. That's all that happened. Can I ping for this kind of? Gosh. Don't ping that weak ass gun to me, dude. I don't want to open up the map yet. Wait. Ooh, nice minis. Maybe some bullets. That's not bad. Just for funsies. Whoa, 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 whoa. Get in there. Oh my god, where are your huevos, man? Where are your huevos? Shoot the fucking car. Oh my gosh, behind you. Behind you. Oh, this dude's two. No, this dude's two. This dude doesn't count. He's not a teammate. He's just a mate. He's not a teammate. Alright, good shots. Alright, cover up, yeah. Don't be stupid. It's your right. Hey, this guy. Alright, let's hope for something here. Have faith. Oh, this man. This man's better get sniped in the head. In the head. Hear me when I say in the head. Alright, these teammates are just bots. So that was the end of my night. That was the last, that was the last what I'm gonna play. Chapter's done. That was a great chapter. Got one win somewhere in the middle of the video, I assume. Dude, run, please. Just no. How is this guy alive? No chance he pulls us off. If he pulls us off, that is a god play. 3-point turn, let's go. 3-point. Unbelievable that 8. Wow. That car is one shot. That car is one shot, dude. He's still doing it. He's gotta go on foot now. Well, they're gonna chase you. Might as well have rebooted us there. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, nice. Yeah, get on the other side of the reboot, man. That's gonna make a difference. It's actually a god play. What the? Alright, I'm not landing there, or anywhere near there. These dudes are right on our tail. Of course. I'll give them a ping if I can. This fucking clown. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. I mean, God play by this guy. Major ups, big ups to this guy. Such a smart move. Wow. Oh, no. Jeez, man, jeez. Dude, leave me. I don't think I make this. appreciate the effort, but I don't think this is worth it. Oh shoot, they're gonna be waiting for him, man. The fact that they haven't waited. He hears him, right? You hear him. He had that the entire time, this jack off. Yeah, empty. Alright, that's gonna be it for the video. Thanks for watching.